Today on Mike on Raw, we have vegan news sources. Is there enough variety? Vegan resources, and we'll have a vegan dance party.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Mike on Raw show. Last week's was a little long. This week's going to be better controlled. Make sure that you come and subscribe if you want to be subscribed, because the next one's going to even be better than this one. We're getting better every day. Let's get right to it. Today, let's start with vegan news sources.
All right, everyone, let's start with plant-based news. Here you can see the website. It's pretty new. They have all kinds of news about veganism, what's going on in vegan. Started by Klaus on a YouTube channel. It's kind of grown into this web magazine format, and it looks pretty good. If you're looking for the latest kind of news about veganism, oftentimes you will find it here. Probably doesn't go into like the too much depth about veganism, but it does have some great options. Another site I like to look at is the Vegetarian Resource Group. Don't look at the site that much, but I do sign up for their newsletter. They send out a monthly newsletter with all kinds of information. Here you can see they've got booth and events that they support. Apparently they had a video contest, but here they have lots of links. So it's all kinds of information you could want when you want to find out news about veganism. It's great options to have. Another site that we can look at is the Vegan Society. Now, the Vegan Society is another group that puts out a regular blog, a regular opportunity to talk to us, and it can have some pretty useful information. Here they break down on a new report today that warned that a shift in plant protein as a substitute for animal protein is desperately needed. You can sign up for a newsletter as well and get a newsletter, and you find out all kinds of information. Final news source I'm going to talk about is the Humane Herald. The Humane Herald is a news article that's been around for quite some time. They're associated with the Humane Party in that many people that work on the Humane Herald take the pledge for humane life that the Humane Party puts out. You too can take the pledge if you go to the Humane Party's website. But they have great news articles. They are a place where research from the Humane Party will get distributed. I think recently they had a real great research paper that came out of the Humane Party that looked at the cost of both environmental and dollar-wise, the cost of having animal products, or the whole animal husbandry and the idea of having animals for our slaves. Yep, Economic Transition Team, you check this out, it's got some great stuff. We also get articles from a variety of people with more information. Here we're looking at what does Trump's new executive order mean for animal agriculture. I think the Humane Herald is a really good place for people to go and really stay up, especially in the United States, if you're in the US, to keep up what's happening with veganism that might happen at a political level, at a place where you could have a voice in what's going on. That's the three news sources I was going to talk to you about today. Let's move on to the next topic.
Well, what'd you think of those news sources for veganism? Out here at a disc golf course, Minnesota, it's fall, things are wrapping up. On to our next topic. Last week we talked about the top 10 reasons why people don't like to go vegan. So today I wanted to focus on the number 10 reason, because there's not enough variety. We know that can be a common complaint, but let's see what we got to say.
Of course, having enough variety can really depend on where you are in the world and what you're willing to eat. Here we're going to a normal grocery store, just your average grocery store in Minnesota, and you can see the types of options that we have. We have all these options in the produce department, right? We've got, right now it's seasonal, so we got pumpkins, but we've got bananas and fruits and vegetables, all fresh, some organic, some not organic, but we have lots of options. You can see them all over this place. As we start to walk through the store, we start to find even more options, right? We find options that are in the Asian aisle. We find, rice and beans and canned fruits, canned vegetables, canned fruits. We find some of the least expensive things, like, there's bread, there's chips, potato chips, there's really all kinds of options. There's even now, if you look in the grocery stores, you might see a wall of dairy. Well, there's also a section in that wall that's vegan products, right? Silk has yogurt, Daya has some yogurt options. There's all kinds of vegan options in yogurt. You find sour cream options that are non-milk based. You just have all sorts of options. And while the variety is not the same variety, if you didn't have kind of compassion in your heart, if you were willing to take that compassion out of your heart, you'd have even more options. But really the question becomes, how many options do you need? And how many options are viable options when you look at the cost that you paying for those options have? Here we even have a number of protein options, vegan protein options, where it's manufactured meats from plant foods. And this is just in a local, regular grocery store. This isn't some fancy Whole Foods or something like that, where you tend to get a little bit more options. These are just the options that you get in a grocery store in this suburb, Dakota County of Minnesota. Now, one thing where I'll agree that their options are limited can be when you're going to a restaurant. When you go to a restaurant, a lot of times there aren't options there at all, other than you can, have a salad and deduct the cheese and deduct the chicken that they try to put on it. You can have some French fries, but you don't know if that's using animal fats that they're cooking those in. Typically, they're not anymore. But yeah, their variety can be limited. But if you live in a town where you have a restaurant that you'd like to go to and they don't have vegan options, call the owner of the restaurant. Call the manager and say, hey, I'm a vegan. I'd like to see more options in there. Because these restaurants do have options. Most of these restaurants get their food from big commercial kitchens, and they get their stuff shipped in from there. And on those lists, they have, Boca burger patties. They have, plant-based options available to them that they could order in, and they could learn how to cook some plant-based options, because if they want your business, they will. I have another video on that. Just adding vegan options into a business can increase sales. Make sure they understand that and try to advocate for yourself a little bit. It can be a little bit of work, but the work is worth it.
Next up, let's talk about vegan resources. You're thinking about veganism, you'd love to go vegan, but it's very confusing. As we saw in the video for the person last week that tried for just a week of veganism, it seemed like resources were a big problem for her. So here I've put together a list of some of the resources that I think could be valuable for someone starting out veganism, and let's see what I found.
Vegan resources can be a challenging subject for people because oftentimes people want to go vegan, but they feel like they don't have the resources. Case in point, you saw last week we had that person who went vegan for 1 week, and she really didn't seem to have the resources necessary to be successful in taking it long term. So how do we help people make sure they have the resources necessary to take it long term? Well, we can point them to some links that are available on the internet. Let's start with Challenge 22. This is a fairly recent website that seems to have its base in the UK, mostly because you can see the people that are helping support it. But with Challenge 22, you can sign up and they will have a series of emails and information that you can do, and they have mentors. They have people that can help you learn about veganism. So they have in the United States, India, South Africa, Mexico, United Kingdom, Canada, and a lot of their nutrition programs are based on nutrition programs recommended by dietitians. So you're not just getting, a YouTube blogger coming up with meal plans for you on your 22-day vegan challenge. What you have are actual dietitians, planned meals that give you all the nutrients you need and give you a chance to experience what a vegan diet can be like, both tasty and humane. A great resource. VEGANN.com has a resource called The Ultimate Vegan Guide, Compassionate Living Without Sacrifice. Take a look. This guide seems to be pretty useful because it really breaks down it into why, how, activism, and then it has some appendixes here. So in the why, it talks about the health and the environment and the ethics of animal agribusiness. Now the how, it talks about how you can really get to veganism in a simple, easy way, right? Crowding, not cutting. It's a great example where you're not cutting out foods, but what you're doing is adding new foods and letting them replace ones that you've already had. And my last resource that I want to talk about is Forks Over Knives. Forks Over Knives has a great website, and they really have a great system where they do work closely to try to help you come up with a plan. Here they have information on getting started on a plant-based diet. You can set up and get information for people, like a meal planner, online cooking school, and get transition packages, kind of a plan to transition to a plant-based diet. They have a recipe app. They even sell things like oil-free dressings, and of course they have their DVDs, books, and magazines. But you can't really miss out on these meal plans and the online cooking schools that they do, because it helps you learn skills that you probably never had, right? If you didn't start out vegan or vegetarian, you didn't really learn how to make foods in a tasty, great way using just plants. You feel like you got to have a bunch of other stuff. But as you'll see, it's really using spices and flavorings in the right way that's a key to having a great vegan transition. So I'd certainly recommend checking out forksoverknives.com, The Ultimate Vegan Guide at VEGANN.com, and Challenge 22 if you really want to consider changing to veganism. And if you're already vegan, this is the things to recommend to those that you're trying to change.
Next up, we have our throwback videos this week, and we're throwing back to a time when the vegan police had challenged people to a dance-off. A few people picked up that baton and gave it a shot, so they found some other dancing videos out there. So let's put our headphones on, turn the volume up, and let's dance along with some happy vegans.
Peas, potatoes, tomatoes, peas, creams, potatoes, tomatoes, peas, creams, potatoes,
Let down her hair, body moving everywhere. Can't help but to stop and stare. Here I go, I'm so excited to know that I'm invited.
Well, everyone, thank you for watching. I really enjoy making these videos. I hope you enjoy watching them. If you'd like to see something different or see some other stuff, make sure you comment down below. If you haven't already given it a thumbs up, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe to make sure you see when the next video comes out. It'll be even better than this one. Thanks again, everyone, for watching, and we'll catch you next time on The Mike on Raw Show.